as an advocate for teachers. I work for Mississippi Association of Educators, and that's when I got really actively involved, because I was one of those teachers in the classroom who felt like my voice was taken away from me, or I felt like that we spent a lot of time testing students rather than actually teaching them and giving them information so they can grow. As of now, my role, I'm still in curriculum, but I still advocate for the rights of teachers and children. I network with a lot of teachers, a lot of parents. I host a lot of community events to raise awareness of the importance of literacy, but also to bring on awareness of rights of people, basic rights of people. Currently, we are engaging in conversation with some teachers from Chicago, and we basically talk about issues that are actually that we have in common. And one of the conversations that came up was restorative justice, looking at ways to address issues around discipline without being so punitive. We've been dialoguing now for about a year or so, and built some very meaningful relationships with the teachers, and having an avenue basically for teachers to talk and have a conversation without having the pressures of feeling like they were going to be penalized for it.
Chicago teachers. There are a group of 7 of us who came. One of the things that really made the Chicago teachers want to come was the opportunity for a deeper relationship with Jackson teachers, which we've been cultivating over these 2 years under Carol's leadership. Our dialogue is generally over email and over phone until we come here and we're able to share in experiences together and dialogue on what does it mean to us in each of our contexts, and how do we want to bring this learning back to our students and back to our other colleagues. I think we have found in our Chicago-Jackson exchange that this kind of space of dialogue across cities, and we're able to learn so much from the exposure, from the differences, and also from the incredible connections.
I'm here today because of my work in advocacy in the Central Vermont community, and also in expanding the conversation around race and racism in Central Vermont, which is interesting because it's a state of over 90% white people. And so trying to push and create more of a space for people of color is how I got connected with a teacher who has attended NDSG for quite some time and was able to be invited last year, and so I'm in Jackson again for my 2nd year, and so it's nice to be back. Coming back this year, I am just interested in learning from the people that I meet here, and I think that some of the most profound learning experiences that I've been able to have in my life have been when I've been exposed to people with largely different cultural contexts, and gotten to really experience firsthand what it's like to live and work in some of the different communities. And so I'm just hoping to connect with other youth and other organizers and other teachers, and to really learn what it means to advocate for progressive education, and then hopefully do that in my own community. I also was able to invite along 2 other students this year, Emma and Marianne, and we've all become connected through restorative justice practices, and we are currently in the planning process of implementing some at Montpelier High School and throughout Vermont in our own communities.
We're Restorative justice is what we actually decided to implement in our classroom. And it was just a way to get to know our students better, their parents better, and also the people in the building, the leadership in the building. And what we noticed from that implementation, that discipline went down a lot more and test grades started to come up. And it was because, in my opinion, when you build a meaningful relationship with your students, they do care about what you ask them to do. They do rise to your expectations. Another thing that I noticed, even with dialoguing with the teachers, is that we were more mindful of how we were feeling. We asked questions of how was your day? Just simple things like that teachers don't normally do in the building that they work in because the culture is not there for it. So just the space that we became comfortable with allowed those teachers in that group, that dialogue group, to actually grow as leaders.
Another thing that I experienced here really for the first time at North Dakota Study Group was that young people and adults were in the space together, not just as co-participants, and definitely not in the usual school spaces where adults teach students, but rather adult education experts from all over the country were following the lead of young people, listening to them and learning, how do I improve as an educator from listening to young people? And they brought that kind of developing capacity back into their educational spaces.
So sometimes students won't want your help, or they might not seem like they're worth helping, but if you're genuinely interested in working to better the lives of your students, you have to understand that even if it's not the most gratifying, rewarding experience, it doesn't mean that it's not worth it. And something that I've noticed with teachers, especially veteran teachers, is that they have a tendency to immediately give up on students or not help out students or offer them the opportunities if they don't see them as worth helping. And I think to a degree that enables students to internalize a lot of times the labels that are placed upon them, and which can be hard for them to progress out of and grow as students and as people. So I think just helping students, regardless of whether the work is gratifying or rewarding, it's tough.